analysis on recent happening. I am Princess Lutin up.
Emmanuel Samoa.
Our quote for the day is from an Indian lawyer, Mahatma Gandhi, and it says, "Learn as if you will live forever. Live your life as if you die tomorrow." Interesting quote there.
Very interesting.
Giving credence to learning and to put thoroughness in everything that you do. So, coming up in this edition, we bring you conversation on national cohesion. Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs concludes consultative conference on the ministry strategic framework, and Helping Hand Development Salon Foundation to perform surgeries for the needy. We invite you to participate by sending your text to the number 0300733719, and find us on your Facebook at SNBC Live on channel 31 and other social media handles. It's Good Morning, Leone. Stay with us. The Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs has considered public service as very important and the rural attitudinal change as key. The Minister, Amara Kalon, made this statement during an integration of multi-stakeholders consultative conference report into the ministry's strategic framework. Well, for more on this issue, we have on the studio the Minister of Public Administration and Political Affairs, Amara Kalon. Good morning and welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure having me here again.
So can we have an insight to your ministry's strategic framework?
Thank you very much. Before I go into the strategic, let me lay the premise why the strategic framework. You know, globally there are issues that are emerging across the globe, and those issues need to be integrated into governance. And the key system or the key institution that is responsible for driving governance in Sierra Leone is the public service. And so if we want to integrate those emerging issues into our governance architecture, then we need to go back to the public service and use it as a conduit to do that integration. And so what are these emerging issues? One is the issue of gender. Sierra Leone, 51% of our population are women, and they play a critical role in decision making. And so we need to make sure that we have them across the board. And already the act that was established in 2023 gave us the instruction and authority that in all decision making level in governance, we should make sure that we don't have less than 30% women's representative. 62% of our population are young people. And these young people, government is spending 22% of its GDP to support their education. And once they're out of the university, we are expecting them to pay back to society, because it is people's tax that is being used to support them. So how do we make sure that we integrate them? Digitalization and technology, most importantly the introduction of artificial intelligence, has taken the global stage. And that is now driving governance across the world, service delivery. So how do we make sure that it is part of our governance architecture? So the president thought it fit that he need to establish a ministry to drive the reforms where we can integrate these emerging issues. And once it's established, as a ministry, we now have the responsibility to lay the roadmap. And that roadmap is what we call the strategic framework for a 5-year period. And so what we have done is to do an assessment of the status quo, the culture and traditions of the civil public service. We have done a conference, and that conference makes a recommendation that we need to have a strategic plan. So we have developed the pillars for the strategic plan. We have developed the strategic objective, which we have submitted to the players in the public service, and they have approved it. Now we are set now to put together the document itself that will give us the indication, the roadmap as to how we are going to do the public service reform in this country.
So did you also consider the architecture, to embrace these contemporary issues?
Yes, so that's why that is the driving force behind all this. At the global level, there is this call for good governance, inclusivity. The UN SEPA principle the 11 SEPA principles are hinged on one thing, and that is inclusivity. They leave no one behind. The Agenda 2063, which is the Africa we want, the AU document that speaks as to what this kind of Africa we want, of which our president is the chair of the APRM in monitoring the implementation of that agenda. At aspiration 3 and 4 clearly gives indication to good governance. And they are saying that we need to strengthen our public administration. Recently, there is a survey done in Africa by the African Peer Review Mechanism, and our president, President Madabio, requested his colleagues, his peers, who are members of the APRM, that we need to do an in-depth study to understand why we are having unconstitutional changes of government in Africa. So Sierra Leone was one of the countries that underwent that review. The report was submitted to his peers, his colleagues president in 2020 at the AU Summit. And one of the issues that came up in that report was that we have problems with our public administration. And so we need to, the recommendations were made that it need to be reformed. So that was the reason why the president decided to create a ministry to look at how we can reform our public administration.
You also looked at behavioral change, attitudinal change. Is that a campaign? Because many believe that could be an innate. It could be innate. So
basically, governance is about behavioral patterns. We are talking about change management. The whole reform is about change management. It's a mindset game. Yeah, it has to do with attitude, it has to do with behavior, it has to do with character. Because every individual that is involved in governance, mostly at that public service level, are focused on service delivery to the people that voted them in. Yeah. So as an institution, what we are doing is to look at the behavioral patterns, and those behavioral patterns will be put in a document. For example, we are presently reviewing the civil service codes, regulations, and rules. Most in that document talks about behavioral patterns. Yeah, the behavior of people in offices, the behavior of people in
those not existing frameworks?
They were in existence. That's why we are reviewing them, so that we can take into issue the issues that we imagine issues, the issues of gender, the issue of youth, the issue of digitalization and technology, the issue of behavior. Now we are moving from compliance-based administration to value-based administration, where you don't force people to deliver, where you make them understand that it is endowed on them. It is a moral values for them to serve and not to push them to comply. So these are all the issues we are taking. So it's a mind game. That's why we are not working in silos. We are working with the Ministry of Information. We are presently developing a communication strategy because they are responsible for civic education. How do we reorientate the mindset of Sierra Leoneans to understand that whatever you do, you are doing it for the next generation, you are doing it for your children. If you destroy the system today, you destroy it for your children.
So my own interest is about the behavioral change, which you mentioned. So we've had Secretariat for that to have a whole campaign for behavioral change, and yet the issues keeps repeating itself. So now, how do you guys aim to achieve this one practically? Because we always say we will bring out perfect documents, but implementation is the issue. So how do you guys aim to achieve this practically?
So for me, this is my opinion, and that's what I'm taking into my operation. Do we need an institution for behavioral change? No. Because we are dealing with a set of people who are public servants. Some of them are appointed politically, some of them applied for those jobs and they are on contracts, and those contracts clearly defines what their roles and responsibilities are. We have the declaration of permanency, we are the civil servants who have the institutional memory of governance and across the country, so that's why they are always there. So do we need to build an institution for that? For me, no. Can we set the system and make sure that we operate the system from within? An understanding of who you are, an identity as a Sierra Leonean, an identity that you have children that you have children who will have to go to school tomorrow. If somebody, a colleague of you who should deliver service on education, do not deliver that service, it's going to affect you in your job. When your children will run back to you and say, Mom, my teacher is not in school because somebody has not done his work from that teacher to be in school. So we are talking about when it's not an institution, but making people understand. And that's why I'm here again. Talking to people, dealing with institutions, building the frameworks, so that people clearly understand that we are no longer forcing people to deliver, but we are all asking people that it is bestowed upon we by moral values, by being Sierra Leonean, being patriotic to deliver. So that if you don't deliver as a public servant, you will not have the resources as a government to increase your salary. That's the fact. And if you enrich yourself as an individual, everybody will crowd towards you. They will congregate around you and pull you down. Because all the other people that should have benefited from your service, you have deprived them, and you are wealthy now, well, they will go to you and pull you down. And we have seen it in this country.
No, that is so what's the compliance measure?
So, you know, when we talk about compliance, it's about how people respond to control and authority. That's compliance. How do you comply to pass certain processes, and that is how do you respond to certain processes and procedures? So do you want to force people? We have forced people for 60, 70 years. We have not seen the result. So can we go back to moral values, work on the mindset? And that's what's happening in other parts of the world. They build institutions, they build the system. Even when we go to the United States of America, we fit ourselves into the system naturally. Because there is a moral value, there is a system they have set based upon their cultures and traditions. So when you go into America, you fit. You have no way to escape the system, you fit. And that's because they have already orientated the mindset.
And the system is organized.
And the system is there.
Organized.
And that's why we want to build a similar system.
Failure.
So that's what we are doing in the region. Building the system so that we can build our system on our culture and tradition, not any longer on exotic values.
So Mr. Minister, do you want to see over the years the system that we are currently operating on, they are not good?
They are good. But we have emerging issues now. Technology is driving the world globally. Previously, you need to go to the American embassy to apply for your visa physically. Now it's online. Nobody wants to see you. In the British High Commission, we used to go there. You see people lining up to go for interview. Now you don't need to go there. If I need my passport, do I need to go to the immigration? When I my civil register it with NCRA and I have an NIN number, I just go to a portal, I input everything, I send all my details, my fingerprint is there, I pay my money through an online system, and it goes through the Bank of Salon, says the money. By 5 o'clock, the Bank of Salon should have told the country that from passport we are going to generate 5,000 euros. Now, and I can get my passport without meeting no one.
Now, when we're talking about morals, before now, the older folks will tell you that there were enough morals. Mm-hmm. But when you look at now, the morals.
So it has degenerated. So I will tell you, my dear brother, the present generation of young people we are talking about between the age of 18 or 30, but we are born within the war. This present generation of young people, 80% of them we are born within the period of the war. So the what we are saying, they don't understand it. The morals and all they were born during a period wherein there is war. All type of languages, all type of behavioral pattern, all that, and that's what we have now. So it's a transition. So there is a break between the period of morality to the period we want to take morality. So what do we need to do? So that's why as a ministry we are also engaging those older folks who have retired from the system. The meeting we held a few days ago, we brought in retired permanent secretaries who were disciplined, who showed credible experience in their jobs. We have decided to form a committee so that they will come and discuss about moral values, value-based system in service delivery.
Continue to stay with us. He is the Minister of Public Administration and Political Affairs, Amara Kalon. Nationalism is the backbone for nationhood. This element is important for peace and cohesion. Well, two senior citizens that want to join the conversation on cohesive nation are Dr. Soko Kabia, good morning, and welcome to the program. And we also have Honorable Bamichidi, good morning, and welcome to the program.
Very good morning.
I start with you, Dr. Soko Kabia. What has prompted you to join the conversation around nationalism, cohesiveness, nationhood?
Yes, thank you very much. I think all of us in the country have observed in recent times, recent days, that there's a cloud of apprehension hanging on our nation. when we consider recent developments. And I think there is a risk that we're facing of disunity and disintegration of national cohesion. We as a people have lived together over centuries, and by and large I think we've been lived in harmony, barring of course situations like the war, which led to suffering and disharmony, but we survived it. And I think there's concern that we're in a situation where things could escalate, and a situation which leaves room for unsavory people with their own agenda to instigate problems that might get out of control and lead to greater conflict. There are such people around who weaponize our differences, and I think at this point it is incumbent upon good citizens to stand up and recognize this problem and try to prevent its escalation to the point where we have national discourse or even violence entering into a fabric. We've seen it happen in other countries where it's escalated to the point of genocide, where people have killed each other, and at the end of the day, once we cross that line, it is hard to put things back together. So it's better at this point to address it and to try to sensitize people about cohesion and harmony and unity of our country.
Dr. Kabia, as a senior citizen, someone that has experienced the bittersweet, you've had the bittersweet experience of Sierra Leone over the years, and now we are faced with this type of menace. What are some of the things that you think is causing the problem now? What are some of the issues?
Yeah. Let me first say that I'm here not as a physician or a politician.
As a senior citizen.
Although I'm a politician, I'm a member of the SLPP, I can say that. But I'm here primarily as a citizen.
Yeah.
Okay. Some of the things that are responsible in certain true or untrue, some people have the perception that they may not be full beneficiaries of what the state has to offer. They feel alienated. If you think about youth employment, many of you, as the minister was talking about, there's economic challenges that people are facing, cost of living is up, political dissatisfaction. Certain groups feel they're not, benefiting from the state in a way they should. Some feel they should be in control. So all of these issues, I think, promote this kind of sentiment and discourse. But it is up to us as people to educate and sensitize people. I believe we should engage general public through radio, print media, electronic media, directly speak the truth. Let them understand they are citizens and that they have their own responsibilities and that they should live in harmony and that they should not engage in tribal confrontation. Not like someone simply because he belongs to a particular ethnic group or have a feeling that you're better than another ethnic group, or that the other ethnic group is not entitled to political engagement or power. So those are some of the things. Let them understand the obligations of being a citizen, and that you have to contribute in a positive way towards the harmony. But you've been doing it. I mean, in the real sense, people are getting along in this country. It is only when situations arise that some people might want to exploit those differences for their own personal gain and for the assumption of power in order to control the destiny of the country and their own economic status. So by and large, people get along. We have intermarriages, people meet in mosques, people meet in schools, marketplace, common. It is not a strange thing in Sierra Leone. It is only when those elements that I've mentioned are put in the mix, weaponized, so that people, there's discord, that's when some people thrive. You know, but we have to engage people at the community level. In the provinces, go to the chiefs, have community meetings, town hall meetings, schools, educate people to prevent, you know, a disaster. Other countries have gone the other way and they've killed each other. In Rwanda, 1 million people died. Other countries have had the same experience. Nigeria had their own. We don't want to get to that point. That's why concerned citizens like myself are raising this issue.
Okay, continue to stay with us, Dr. Soko Kabia. At this moment, I bring in Honorable Bamichili. So what's your thoughts around the national cohesion, to speak?
My thought is bringing people together, be patriotic, Sierra Leone first. To get that one into our mindset, we'll never move forward. And within the executive, that's the government, they have to be sincere in this, because that's the difference between the governed and the government, because you have to make sure with Sierra Leone first, we have so many nomenclature, attitudinal behavior change, new direction, everything is centering towards bringing people together. But are we sincere in all our utterances? Leadership by example, because the problem is towards election and the advent of the social media, then this tribal talk raises ugly head. And instead of containing it, we are allowing it to go through, because from the day election is completed, you should be working towards another election of 2028. But what do we do? Bickering, bickering, bickering. But then, in any society, you have to make sure that you sensitize your people to know their civic rights and responsibility. And then with the advent of social media, they have more synergy in negative propaganda. Who are you trying to score points with? That is why the New Year's speech from both political parties was saying unity to bring people together across the divide. We should accept the country is so polarized. We should make sure we disseminate proper information to bring confidence back to the people. Because if you don't bring confidence, like this short time, they were talking about civil disobedience and every kind of thing. But when the government came in, yesterday, then go work. But you should be proactive than reactive. When you see something's coming up, come out and tell and explain to people. So don't say, hey, you be waiting and say, that is based on false information. So now we should concentrate in unity and in diversity.
So I put this question to both of you. When you engage young people, you know, most young people I have spoken with, they tend to point fingers around system failure, toxic situations to the aged, to those that have been before them.
Can you ask question again?
When you talk to young people, they will tell you, oh, there has been system failure, the country is toxic because of those aged who have been there and they have not represented our interests.
What did they do? Is it to go and take kush or go and talk to the people? That is why they got, you see, there was a big breakdown in law and order when we had the Civil War. And most of the people who are talking to you now, I don't know what's the moral standard. And then they came up with this word, it's for go school, say talk by or bag. Was it a nice thing to tell people? And then what are they doing now? Government want help them. I was talking to the community center, government want help them. They go get them cover. Don't forget them boku pneumonia. They are going to cost more money in the medical bill. So look, youth development means you have to make sure that you capacitate them to do something better. Now we are talking about that agenda for in agriculture, which is priority. Yeah. Train them now to repair tractors, hauling machine, thrashers, and everything, and then how to make sure the silos that you are going to build to stop produce, that they will be properly engaged. Look at what they did when Woodside came in. They had to take driver to drive Volvo from Ghana. Why? Then because of that lapse in time, NDMC had good juggernaut drivers, but now they've stopped that one. So we have to retrain them. It's now even with the gender-based thing that government is talking about. Now the UNDP have trained women to drive. I think American Embassy got some, UN got some. I think youth employment for a woman, female driver. So when you start bringing them on board, then you're creating an enabling environment. But when you say government be give me work, what you don't do for yourself or make government see you for you? That's the question I'm going to ask.
Okay, yes, yeah, Dr. Kadia, what could be your response when young people attribute system failure to the aged, especially those of you that have served in previous capacities?
Well, I think the young people feel alienated because of the challenges they face. Challenges that involve employment, also they may not be feeling the benefits of being citizens because they don't have the capacity to serve or to be gainfully employed. So I think it is a situation which government at that level has to address. It is not unique to Sierra Leone. There is this problem of youth employment and how do you engage them. So we have to come up with solutions, and soon. Otherwise, these people will be sitting fodder for people who might want to exploit the situation, not for the good of the country, but for themselves and for their own agenda. So that is what it is. So what I'm talking about here is raising an alarm, as it were, an awareness to every Sierra Leonean that we are at a point where we're at risk for disintegration of law and order and internecine fights that will not be to the benefit of our country and might lead to even greater problems. Like in other countries that's happened, in Rwanda, I always quote Rwanda, within a space of 3 months, they killed over 1 million people, just through ethnic divide and genocide. And we don't want to get to that point. We might think we're safe, but you never know. And if people are to the point where they feel they're disenfranchised or they're not getting what deserves them, and politicians are misusing it, certain politicians, and poisoning the environment through media, and it might get out of control. So or something might happen where...
Very quickly, what could be the tips for national cohesion? Very quickly.
What could be the...
Tips.
The tip?
Tips, yes.
Yeah. Well, we have to sensitize people. We have to first of all recognize that the problem exists. And we have to have strategies where we make it known, people are aware, they may not be thinking about it actively, maybe it's in their subconscious, but you bring it out to the open and let them know this danger is there. And find means of addressing it, nipping it in the bud. At the same time, there's the other arm where government has to address some of these issues in an expedited manner, in a way that's effective, providing jobs, analyzing the problems, just like the Honorable Minister said here,
Yes.
finding solutions. So it's a dual kind of approach.
Grievance settling mechanism.
Hmm?
Grievance settling mechanism.
Yes, have that. So part of it is discussion, having open discussions, engaging them at the community level, go up to in the provinces, the paramount chiefs, community, have town meetings, let it be discussed openly and not on the hand and people looking at each other with suspicion, saying you belong to this tribe, therefore you're benefiting, when that might not even be
People
the
are
case.
afraid to come out.
They're afraid to come out. So it has to be open. Open discussion at every level, in the schools, marketplace, churches, mosques. Discuss in the families.
Okay, continue.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Yes, Honorable Bamichili, what would be the quick tips, quickly, for nation building?
The cohesion, unity in diversity, by talking to them openly, say truth to power. But sometimes you say they're not talking.
They are afraid to come out.
Some of the reasons part of the government. That is why government should be sincere in what they're saying.
They don't want to be pursued.
But suppose sometimes you will be talking, sometimes they say you see police there waiting for you. It's not intimidation. So let us make sure that we open up. We have the Ministry of Public Administration and Political Affairs, which means if we look at those little things, because the settling mechanism is talking to people, and when they come up their game, you listen. You won't answer all of their questions, but because that is why the civic education have to go on, because unity in diversity. No, you see, all these things is the national cake, the resources. Because you know, take one side, they enjoy no more. So when you do that one side, they enjoy, the other side, enjoy, then they begin plan back. Even within your own rights, people shortchange you. You get annoyed. So what you do? You fold your fold foot, same like carry on, and that reward when I tried it, it's not good. It's widening the divide. And if it's widening the divide, it's now to the cohesion now for use state mechanism, try to talk to the people whilst you are creating jobs. But if we don't give government peace for them to do this, how do you do? Because right now, all this Bohara is, you are rudely interrupted. Then how do you want the businessman to come in? So you have to convince the citizen to be patriotic, and as well as the investor that there is level of peace and calmness in the country. Then they will invest their money. So the only way you can bring is the level of interaction.
Thank you so much for joining us, two senior citizens, Dr. Soko Kabia and Honorable Bamichili, joining the conversation around nationhood and national cohesion. You are still watching the Good Morning Show from public broadcaster SLBC, where let's go for a short break. When we come back, we bring more interesting issues.